I'm Melissa Caruso. I'm the author of the Swords and Fire series from Orbit Books, which begins with The Tethered Mage and includes the Defiant Heir and the Unbound Empire. And I also have a new trilogy out, Rooks and Ruin, which begins with the Obsidian Tower, which just came out in June. This is Lupa. She is a 15-month-old puppy, sorry, not 15-week, 3 months old puppy, and she is a force of pure and unbridled chaos in the universe, and she is going to help me talk to you about animal characters in fantasy books. Thanks, Lupa. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a teen, I grew up reading Anne McCaffrey and Mercedes Lackey, and I loved the idea of these fantasy animals who would love you and be psychically bonded to you and not bite you, right? And and help you in all of your endeavors. Lupa is also very, very helpful. But of course, we also have a lot of other animal characters who are not necessarily always so helpful in fantasy. And in my new book, The Obsidian Tower, I have one called Whisper, who is a chimera. He's sort of part cat, part fox, part weasel. And he's a bit of a mysterious character. His agenda isn't really clear. I'm going to try, this should be interesting, I'm going to try to read to you the scene where he first makes his appearance. We'll see how this goes. Lupa, that's my hand. Here, use one moment. I have a secret weapon. Peanut butter. Okay, so here we go. This is when, so my main character, Rixander, is, she's the guardian of this castle that has a spooky secret door she's forbidden to open in it. It's not really very secret. And she has a guest who she suspects is going to try and open it. So she's like kind of staying, doing kind of a stakeout outside her guest's door in the middle of the night, waiting to see if she's going to try and open this door of bad ideas that she should really not be opening. And she's just been almost falling asleep, waiting to see if her guest does this when my head jerked up from the cool wooden boards of the floor and I blinked grit from my eyes. I had to stay awake. Lemuel hadn't arrived here a day early just to sit in her room. It was only a matter of time until she made her move. A voice spoke behind me, soft as silk sliding across my palm. It'll be easier to kill her if you leave the door ajar. I barely stopped myself from leaping up and screaming. Instead, I made a muffled choking noise and twisted around to face the lean, elegant creature who sat in the window, tail curled around his paws, backlit by the moon behind him. "Hello, Whisper," I said. "Thank you for your rather morbid advice, but I'm not currently planning on killing anyone." "Suit yourself." His tone suggested that I was being foolish, but he was too polite to point it out. "How will you stop her if she tries to enter the Black Tower?" "Don't you have anything better to do than sneak up behind people and ask them ominous questions?" "No." He leaped down and prowled closer on silent paws. "And that's not an answer." Whisper was a chimera, created by one of my Witch Lord ancestors long ago. He had the splendid tail and pointed face of a fox, the nimble grace and sharp hidden claws of a cat, and the sinuous lethality of a weasel. His fur was so black he seemed to vanish into 2 dimensions, a slip of mislaid shadow, except for the burning yellow glare of his eyes. No one knew who had created him, or what centuries-old purpose he served. He'd already been slinking about the rooftops and windowsills when my grandmother was a girl, making short work of any small, sly creatures other mages might send to spy on the castle. He obeyed no one's orders, kept his motives secret, and followed his own rules. The rest of my family treated him like something between an ill-omened haunt and a household pest. He was one of the only friends I had. If words aren't enough, I don't know how I'll stop her, I admitted. Grandmother's hunch aside, I don't have much reason to think she'll try to open the door. I'm more worried about her stirring up political trouble. Then your priorities are wrong. Whisper slipped past me, his fur brushing my arm, soft as a night breeze. I flinched instinctively, despite knowing that whatever magic extended his life also fortified it enough that my touch didn't harm him. She normally kills everybody she touches. "Is what's in the Black Tower so dangerous?" I asked. I had no doubt it was. I only had to walk past it to know that. But I'd take any chance to tease out more of a glimpse into Whisper's own secret priorities. "Dangerous enough." Whisper's bushy tail flicked like a knife cut across the air. "Dangerous for you. Stay away from it, Rix." "I know the gloaming lore." I paused, eyeing him. You've lived here longer than anyone. Do you know what's in there? He settled on his haunches, fixing his gleaming yellow eyes on me for a long moment in silence. Something best forgotten, he said at last, his voice soft as falling snow. Well, that was unsettling. Care to explain? No. He lifted his head, and his ears pricked and swiveled toward the door. On the far side came a creak of hinges. Quiet footfalls sounded in the hallway. You'd better see to that, Whisper said. I muttered a curse and pulled on my gloves. Lamiel was on the move. And that's the end of that scene. Thank you, Lupa, for being so helpful. Yes, Whisper, unlike Lupa here, is not particularly careful. Oh, not particularly helpful, I should say. And another thing I recently learned is that I pronounce chimera wrong, and it's apparently chimera. Okay, so of all the things I would have guessed, it was not chimera. Like, I've heard maybe, I don't know. That sounds wrong to me and fake, but whatever. Apparently it's chimera, and I've been doing it wrong, so ignore me when I say chimera. But yeah, so Whisper, when I first envisioned him, was a cat. But my editor at the time pointed out that there are an awful lot of cat animal companions, particularly in YA. And this isn't a YA book, it's an adult book. And she thought it gave it a bit of a YA feel, and also thought that it was just, it was a little bit too much of a cliched trope. And I kind of fought it a little while because I loved the character, but then I agreed, and I actually really like him better as a chimera because I think that makes him even more ambiguous, and I had a lot of fun making him have kind of a mysterious agenda that was not always in line with my main characters. And he's sort of really got his own stuff going on. He doesn't necessarily respond to things the way that a human would. And he was a really fun character to write. But in general, that's an advantage that we have with animal characters, is that they don't have to think and act like humans do. I mean, they can. Sometimes you see ones that are left like, okay, you're just a human who happens to have 4 legs and is furry. But I think that in addition to the kind of teenage girl wish fulfillment that I may have seen in the stuff that I like to read when I was a teenager, it just really opens up a lot of opportunities to us as fantasy writers to get to present these other perspectives. And of course, sometimes you have also animal characters who are not like hyper intelligent and can't talk and stuff, and it's just like, okay, this is just a horse, but it's a horse with personality, and you get really invested in the horse, and you want the horse to be okay. And characters who kill off the animal companions that you get invested in are authors who kill off animal companions you get invested in are just bad people. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, hi. This may have been a terrible idea, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that, right now, for instance, I'm reading The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrew Stewart. I can't quite reach it from here, but and it has an animal companion in it. I'm only partway through, so don't spoil me. But clearly something is up with this animal companion. It's sort of mysterious. I have my suspicions. There's evidence that it may have magical powers, and something is up with it. And one thing I'm really looking forward to is finding out what's going on there. And then, of course, there are the animal companions who can transform into humans, and sometimes you just have an animal companion who's an animal companion. And of course, we have a lot of those in video games too. I don't know how many of you played Lunar Silver Star Story, but there's this cat who, and it's the least spoilery thing ever to tell you that the cat turns out to be a dragon. And I feel like there's a lot of relation, the cat, chimera in my book is totally not a dragon. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But I feel like you see a lot of connection between cats and dragons. I just got bitten in fantasy literature, and I think that's not an accident. My kids and I both love The Book of Dragons by E. Nesbit, which is an old kids book. There's a short story that sort of posits that the way cats came into being as they were dragons who got domesticated, and their scales fell off and they got small and kind of lazy, but you can still see the dragon there in the cat, and I feel like that's probably fairly accurate. I don't see quite as many fantasy dogs as you see fantasy cats. Obviously, the Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice books kind of leap to mind there. There's some, they're just dogs, but with a fantasy connection. You see there, and I'm trying to think of some other good examples, because I'm doing this all off the top of my head. A Night in the Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny, one of my favorite books ever. Honestly, the main character's a dog, Snuff. And if you haven't read it, you should. It's older, but it's just really a lot of fun. And he did a great job with him. Although again, he's only sort of a dog. He's got other stuff going on. Suffice to say, it's a bit of leeway that we have in fantasy that we don't necessarily have in other genres. And science fiction, of course, you can do it too, but at that point, half the time they're an alien, which is also cool, but a little bit different than just a straight up animal, who is magical or otherwise. Here, have some more peanut butter. So yeah, this has been a bit chaotic, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I would, sometime come find me on Twitter and tell me who your favorite fantasy animal characters are. And now my puppy is loose and I need to go make sure she doesn't get her face ripped off by my cat right now. It's been a real pleasure and thanks for joining me.